I am God living. I have a Facebook account which is named Grant Salvin. That's my name on my birth certificate. So, if you haven't watched my videos and you haven't looked at my Facebook profile, you will have a very hard time following what I'm talking about. I'm God, and I have to show you who I am. But if you don't look, you'll never know. And you'll die as a result of that. I try my hardest. 20,000 posts on my Facebook page and almost 1,500 videos on YouTube. Not to mention all the posts I've got on X as well, which is, I don't even know. It's probably more than 10,000. It's like, I don't know, it's more than 10,000. Anyways, so I want to go over what I've been posting. I want to talk about what I posted today. So I'll explain it to you in case you don't understand it, what it's about. Now, so if I go back, the last video I recorded was My Sheep Hear My Voice. And I explained how people like Chester Bennington, yeah? What's this? Manchester United, yeah. So, yeah, you've heard of Grant Chester as well, yeah? I'm Grant. Manchester, or Chester Bennington, right? He's dead now, but he's yeah, a clone. See, the world echoes me. You see, those who don't love me are being fed ideas by demons. They're demons all working together, and they copy my words, my thoughts, my actions. Everyone wants, all the evil demons, they all want to clone me. It's all about trying to reflect my light. Imagine, the sun that's in the sky, right? So, you know how powerful the sun is. You know how important it is to life on Earth. Without the sun in the sky, everyone's dead. Yeah? Now imagine this. Imagine you were walking down the street, yeah, and you saw someone holding up a gigantic mirror, and all you could see was a reflection of the sun, right? So you could see there was a person. Well, you couldn't really see it. You could just see, what it is it's someone holding a gigantic mirror in front of themselves, reflecting the light of the sun at you, and that person wants you to believe that they're the sun, that they're the star, that they're the one that's so important to your existence. Well, that's what everyone does in this world, except they do that to me. They copy me, they mimic me in lots of different ways. Fred Durst is... See, that's the thing. When I was a kid, I was a big fan of Limp Bizkit. I had a very evil mum, abusive mum, called Fiona. So let me go back here. Okay, so what are we talking about? Okay, so I've already talked about Aaliyah Dana Houghton, the singer. She died when she was 22, she died on the 25th of August 2001. She died in a plane crash. This was weeks before 9/11. You know, when the planes crashed into the Twin Towers in New York? Yeah. You see, all of that's connected together. See, back in 2019, I was, over the past decade, so 10 years ago, I was realizing that I couldn't trust people, that people were no good for me, and I was on the path of looking for truth. I wanted to know about truth because I was so tired of living my life that I really wanted to just get to some conclusion, whether, I needed to know what's the truth. I had to find the truth because the world was against me. Everyone I ever encountered seemed to be my enemy. Or if they came to me as my friend, they turned out to be my enemy. So and every relationship I had with a woman was a disaster. I just felt worse and worse and worse after every woman that I ever got in a relationship with. I felt like I'd lost something. I felt like I was being drained and drained more and more and more. So I spent I left my job in 2016, and for 3 years I stayed at home trading Bitcoin, and I was learning stuff through YouTube, lots and lots. I was looking everywhere for answers, all over the place. I was reading the Bible. And what happened is that in 2019 I got attacked by demons. I got surrounded by ghosts, touching me, assaulting me sexually. That was terrifying. Yeah, it was. And what happened was one day I went out to, pretty much just after that happened, because I was being literally sexually assaulted non-stop. Like it wasn't just a 5 minute thing or an hour long thing. It was non-stop. Even when I went to bed, even when I was trying to sleep, it was non-stop. So I went to the cliffs, the Seven Sisters Cliffs, one day. And I was going to go there to pray and go for a walk. And I was trying to clear my head and figure out what the heck am I doing with my life. And then I ended up going on a very long walk with these ghosts that were dragging me around. I went on a 10-mile walk that day. I went from Brighton to New Haven, went through farmers' fields and sheep runs and all kinds of stuff, and I ended up in a little village called Pigeoning near New Haven. And that's when it got dark, and I saw demons in the sky. I saw clouds making the clouds being formed. I mean, that was even before I got to Pigeoning. During the whole day, I was watching shapes being formed in the clouds. I'm not talking, when I'm saying that, I mean it was unmistakably that there was a force in the sky making the signs. I could actually see them dragging the clouds around in the sky, and I've never seen anything like it since. It was the most crazy day of my life, basically, in terms of what I saw that day. And no one believes me, and I've tried telling that story so many times that no one believes me. But anyway, so they all attacked me, right? I got attacked by a lot of demons, and so that led me on my journey to figuring out who I am. And now I know who I am. I'm God. I was Jesus Christ. And that took me for a while to get my head around that, because I've lived a life of, smoking and drinking and doing drugs and all kinds of stuff. But the simplest answer is this, is that I was Jesus Christ. I am Father. And Father does what the fuck he likes. Okay, that's it. I get to do what I want. Yeah? And there are a lot of better demons out there that fucking hate me. So now going back to Aaliyah Dana Houghton. So what happened in 2001, she died in a plane crash. Just before I went to a boarding school called Charterhouse. Yeah, if you go watch the videos of the investigations about Aaliyah Dana Houghton's crash, they'll all talk about the chartering companies that were involved and all that kind of shit. Yeah, you know what a chartered flight is? Yeah. Anyway, she died because her plane was overloaded. Yeah, and I was back then. I used to listen to heavy metal. I was listening to Limp Bizkit and other bands. Right, I got into a lot of heavy metal at that age. So, it's because I'm magic. It's because, like I said, the world reflects me. So Aaliyah Dana Houghton, she used to be the Virgin Mary, unbelievably, right? So what happened was, there was a point after I left Brighton, I came over to Weston-super-Mare, and I could feel this presence on me, this ghost in front of me, and I realised that it seemed like it was a woman. I got the sensation it was a woman. And I didn't know who she was at first, and then I figured out who she was. I figured out that she's Aaliyah Dana Houghton because I started going through the names of celebrities. I was trying to figure out, okay, who could it be? And then I remembered Aaliyah Dana Houghton from the movie Romeo Must Die, which was a film I had on DVD when I was a little kid, okay, before she died. And and then I found out about her plane crash at the time, that was the first time I'd heard of that plane crash. I had no idea she was even dead. And that's when I found out. And this was a few years ago. This is probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, it's about 5 years ago now. So it would have been about late 2019, 2020 that I figured that out. And yeah. And so when I figured out who she was, I thought she was my friend. And then I slowly discovered that actually she's not my friend at all. And it was total mental torture for me, basically. It really messed with my mind a lot. All of this. Figuring out who I am. Why does everyone hate me so much? And why do I have so many enemies? Well, it's simple. It's because I'm God. There's no one above me. I'm God. I am the creator of all. And there's no one really who there isn't a God I can pray to and say, help me, God. I am that God. It's me. It's very difficult for me, okay? I have a lot of power, yeah. But things have been set up a certain way, okay? The world, I will get my justice no matter what. I get my justice. But how I get my justice is, well, it depends. People could actually work with me and acknowledge who I am, or they don't. And if they don't, well, everyone's dead. Everyone's getting destroyed. And it just means it's going to be more painful for me and more painful for them. But ultimately, that's what's going to happen. Because I have to speak and you have to listen to me. Like I said, my sheep hear my voice. If you don't hear my fucking voice, then you ain't getting saved, right? There's no, if you treat me like, do you know what I mean? If you deny that I'm God, well, you're as good as dead. All right. So Aaliyah Dana Houghton. Okay. So I was gonna, I posted a video earlier. So her last music video that she did before she died was "Rock the Boat," and that was shot in the Bahamas, and that was just before she got on the flight to leave the Bahamas, and she died. Her plane crashed. It took off on the runway. It got about 60 foot in the air, and it came down, and it caught on fire, and they were all dead, basically. And so, yeah. Yeah, and so, her last video was "Rock the Boat." Now, what's really interesting is that I didn't know this until today, but Fred Durst, he did a thing for MTV So he did two songs on a stage on a beach. They call it the Isle of MTV, and it's he did two songs, I'm Broke and Nookie, and um, and then he blew up at the end of it. He blew up a boat, right? There was a boat off the at the end of like a pier or whatever. It was out in the water, and he pushed the few he pushed the thing to make it explode, right? And the boat just blows up. Um, yeah. So, there's a connection between that happening and Aaliyah Dana Houghton. I mean, that's the thing. They weren't ever. I can't ever see any reports of them ever really being that close to one another. Although obviously they were both on MTV, and they both sort of they were always hanging around with Carson Daly. They were going on MTV and stuff like that. So obviously they knew each other. Um, but I don't really know anything else. There doesn't seem to be anything else about them knowing each other or anything like that. But that's the thing. When I was that age, I was a fan of Limp Bizkit. And so this is a part of the story. Okay. Now, what's really interesting? There's another video. So Limp Bizkit did a thing at MTV Spring Break in 1998, and that's on a beach, and there's all these models, right, doing the catwalk while Limp Bizkit plays two songs. One is Counterfeit, and then the other one is Nobody Loves Me. See, I'm God. I'm the one who nobody loves. Yeah? I mean, that's the thing, right? It's a really tricky thing, so babble, right? Because, I think I'm God. I am the one who knows, my brain, I know stuff. I know the truth, right? But in essence, I am nobody. But you see, demons like to say, I don't exist. They say, no, he's nobody, he doesn't exist. He's no thing. He's nothing, sort of thing. But anyway, Limp Bizkit, they're saying, counterfeit, you're a counterfeit. You're fake, we figured you out. And then he goes on to say, nobody loves me. While there are all these, women walking around in bikinis and thongs, right? And everyone's cheering looking at all these hot, sexy women. And, Fred Durst is singing, nobody loves me, nobody cares. Yeah? I mean, it's witchcraft against me. That's what it is. Because it's associating the idea of not being loved by anybody with a bunch of people on spring break getting drunk and shagging. Yeah, it's trying to, that's the thing. It's mixing those ideas together. So you don't know the fucking difference between people who are fucking and someone who is desperately in need of love. You don't know the fucking difference because you're a fucking demon and a piece of shit. So, and then the next video I posted was Limp Bizkit playing at, it says live in Mountain View, California. It's really interesting. He starts going off at a guy called Scotty, who's responsible for the monitoring speakers that are on the stage, and he starts getting really angry at Scotty. He's like, Scotty, turn it down, and he keeps complaining about the sound quality of the monitor speakers which are on stage, and he keeps getting angry at Scotty. Well, interesting thing is, I was born in Scotland. I'm Scottish, so in a sense, I'm Scotty. Yeah. Let's move on to the next video. Okay, so Limp Bizkit live MTV New Year's Eve, complete show 98. Yeah. So he plays some songs on New Year's Eve when it turned to the year 1999. And Aaliyah Dana Houghton, well, she was in the video for all of about 5 seconds. But I did spot her there. She was in the middle of that video. Yeah. And yeah, so there were some other performances. Limp Bizkit and Korn playing in New Orleans. I used to have family members, biological family members, who lived in New Orleans. Yeah, yeah, I don't like them. I fucking hate them. And then there's Limp Bizkit. It says, oh, I got a video. It says, so the band everyone loves to hate. So this is the thing. I'm God, and Fred Durst is basically a clone of me. That's what he is. He would love to think he's me. And the reason I became a fan of Limp Bizkit when I was a kid was because I was being abused, and I felt, and that's the thing. Fred Durst was basically an echo of my feelings, my thoughts, and my voice. And so, it was a very powerful reflection. I mean, when you see like an animal looking in a mirror, like most animals don't know, they don't see their own reflection. They think it's like an enemy, or they get totally freaked out when they look in a mirror. And for a long time, I was always that's the thing, because the world reflects me, and it really messed with my head. And it's only as I become older I realized that these reflections are actually reflections of me. They're people who are trying to steal my identity, basically. Well, yeah, that's exactly how it is. Because if they steal my identity, they're stealing my power, right? There are lots of people who want to pretend to be God, and I'm God. So that's the problem. That's why I hate this world, and that's why the world's getting fucked. And I'm not talking about sex, I'm talking about destruction. Yeah? That's why I want to see annihilation happen, basically. But the other thing is that I was listening to Limp Bizkit when I was a kid, and my mom didn't like me listening to Limp Bizkit. She wasn't a fan of Limp Bizkit, as you could imagine. I mean, my mom was a butch lesbian for a start. I mean, she was into what did she? She's listened to dance music and George Michael and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, Limp Bizkit had a cover of George Michael's song "Faith," which was the number one album. George Michael's album "Faith" was the number one album when I was born on the 14th of November 1987. Okay? So now here's the next bit, okay? So I discovered an artist, okay? Well, a singer, and her name is Fiona Apple. Now it's really interesting because the story about Adam and Eve, and they talk about the apple, right? A lot of people say it's an apple. There are a lot of people who've depicted that story saying that the forbidden fruit is an apple. And obviously you know how popular Apple computers is, right? iPhones and Macs and iPads and all that shit, right? I hate Apple as a company. I think they make absolute crap. I used to have an Apple computer. So when I was back in the early 2000s, probably about 2003, 2004, I had a Power Mac G5 Quad, and that was the last Power PC processor. So you see, the processor was a G5, and that was the last that was the last of the Power PC architecture, basically. So after the G5, Apple moved to Intel processors. So that computer was kind of an interesting last computer. It was the last computer of the Power PC architecture processors, basically. And that's what I had. And not to mention, G5, well, it looks like my initials, right? Because my initials are GS. Yeah? It's, if you look, people use mobile phones, right? What kind of connection do you have on a mobile phone? Well, you have a 5G connection. Yeah? So that's the thing, right? My name on my book, my birth certificate is Grant Salvin. Yeah. you know, if you see the phrase grant salvation, yeah, you might notice that my name's in there. Yeah? You know, people say, God grant us. Well, I'm God grant. That's me. Anyways, Fiona Apple. Well, the thing is that when I got that computer, that Power Mac, I was about, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, something like that. And I didn't pay for it myself. My mum paid for it with her credit card. She had a credit card and she gave it to me, and I purchased the computer on the internet, and it got delivered. I set it up and I used it. Okay, and then after my mum went bankrupt, I kept that computer for a number of years, and eventually I got rid of it and I gave it to somebody who wanted it. I'm not sure if they paid me anything for it. I think they probably gave me a little bit of money for it, but whatever. But this is the thing. Anyway, for years, my mom argued with me. She said she wanted that computer back. She wanted it for herself. And, yeah, there was a little bit of arguing between me and her about who was going to have that computer and whatever, right? I did build a computer for her once, as well, by the way. Because I'm an IT guy. I used to be a third line network support guy. Okay, networks and servers. Cisco certified. CCNA and CCNA wireless. Okay, so moving on. So that's the thing, right? Because there's this singer called Fiona Apple. So I've not listened to much of her stuff, but she's got a song called Limp. Limp. Where, you know, the lyrics are basically like, you know, I haven't done anything wrong to you. You know, why do you think I've done anything wrong to you? That kind of shit. Basically just saying, I've never done anything bad to you ever. Basically, anything like that. How fucking strange, huh? My mom's a demon. My biological mom is a demon. Very evil demon. I mean, that's the thing. I'm God, and the fact that that's the thing. Anyone who got close to me gets, you know, that's the thing. People I get close to get corrupted by demons. The worst demons, you see, the people who get close to me the people who are closest to me get to, you see, by being near me, they absorb my power. So that's the thing. Being near, I have to be careful who I let near me. That's the thing. I mean, what does it mean to hang out with somebody? Does it mean that when you go around to your mate's house, you fucking put him on a fucking crucifix? Does it? Is that what you do when you go around to hang out with your fucking mates? Is that what happens? You stick him on a fucking crucifix and nail him to a fucking cross. Yeah? What does hanging out mean then? You stupid fuck! Oh, seriously, I fucking hate this world so much. Seems no amount of explaining seems to get me anywhere with people. Absolutely unbelievable. And there was the other song by Fiona Apple, which is called Criminal, where she admits ruining a man's life just because she could. Just because she had the power to do so, or she was in a position to do it, and she had the opportunity to ruin a man's life, she did it. Yeah, that's the other song. Yeah, so after Fiona Apple Limp, yeah, Fiona Apple Criminal. Okay. And she also had an album which was called Extraordinary Machine. Yeah, what's that about, do you reckon? What's a machine then? Is it a computer by any chance? Is it a Powermac G5 quad by any chance that we're talking about here? Yeah, I mean, you know what people talk about. They talk about AI, artificial intelligence now. You know, Skynet and the Terminator's gonna come along and fucking take us all down, yeah? So, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the fucking Terminator, Judgment Day, artificial intelligence, the computers are gonna take over the world, blah de blah de blah. Yeah, do you think demons are trying to take advantage of that by any chance? No? No? Well, you're a stupid cunt then. Alright. Okay, and so there's another album by Fiona Apple, which is called Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Well, what would you use bolt cutters for? Well, normally to cut through chains. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I noticed there's a strange connection between the word fee, which is short for Fiona, right, and sting. Well, fisting. You know what fisting is, yeah? You stick a fist in a thing, yeah? In a hole. Right? Fisting. Yeah, that's right. Fisting. Fee sting. Well, that's the thing. I was born under the zodiac sign Scorpio. Right? So I've got a sting in my tail. Yeah, sting. And then there's feasting. Fisting. Yeah, I just noticed there's a strange connection there. Yeah. Anyways. Strange bit of sex magic. Yeah. So. So, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Because when I was listening to Limp Bizkit, I think the first time I heard the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack and Limp Bizkit was on it. I actually had that CD before I had any Limp Bizkit albums, I think. And you had Metallica on there and Limp Bizkit, Take a Look Around. Um, it's Take a Look Around, it's Limp Bizkit fucking up your town. Yeah, well, that's me. I'm God. I'm the one destroying everything. I'm the force of destruction. I'm here for vengeance and justice. The only way to stop me from destroying everybody and everything is to actually love me. But if you can't do that, well, bye then, you cunt. That's what it amounts to. That's what's happening. So, oh, if you didn't know, my mum's dead, by the way. She died of cancer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's dead. Got a lot of money, by the way. Yeah. Yep. And a house as well. So, I mean, this is the thing because since I had that computer, the Powermac G5 Quad, I've never bought another Apple product ever since. I've never bought an iPhone. I've never bought an iPod. I never bought an iPad. I never bought any of that shit. I've always bought either Windows computers or, I use Windows and Android and Linux. Those are the operating systems that I use. And obviously other devices like, all kinds of shit. But obviously I worked in IT, so I've worked on all kinds of things, right? Cisco switches, they run iOS, which is interesting because iPhones also use iOS, don't they? But it's not the same operating system. Cisco's switch, the Cisco switch uses, and Cisco routers, they use they call their operating system iOS. Well, that's what they used to call it, iOS. An iPhone, well, and I suppose probably iPads as well, they use iOS. Anyway, let's not get too technical here, okay? But yeah. So, oh, and there's the other thing, right? So, I remember when I was a kid, I was watching the MTV Awards, the VMA, the Video and Music Awards, and Christina Aguilera had her song "Come On Over," right? Come on over. So, excuse me. So it's a song about come over to have sex, right? That's basically what the song's about. Yikes. And then Fred Durst, he comes out at the end of her song, and he sings his song "Living It Up." Okay, living life in the fast lane, living it up. So these people are obsessed. That's the thing. You take Fred Durst, he was a clone of me, right? He's a demon clone, pretending to be me, God. And he gets on stage with someone who's called Christina. Christ is the first part of her fucking name. Yeah? It's the first part of her first name, isn't it? Christ. Christina Aguilera. Come on over and living it up. Well, that's the thing, most people think of Jesus Christ living in heaven, in the sky, in the clouds, or wherever, right? You know what I mean? It's all magic designed to try to steal my power. I've been here for 37 years, and so far, no one cares. Not a single fucking person. And I've been warning people for years now that if you don't stop rejecting me, if you cannot acknowledge me, well, you're gonna lose everything. You will lose everything. It will be the end of you. You know how my mum died of cancer, right? Well, what happened was I started to figure out the truth, and I started to figure out who I am. I actually told her about my situation, what happened to me when I got surrounded by ghosts and how I saw demons. I told her. She didn't listen to me. She didn't want to know. She didn't believe me. She told me to shut up. She told me to shut my mouth. I don't want to hear that. Fuck off, Grant. Go away. Yeah, that's what she said to me. Well, she's dead now. Yeah. It started off as anal cancer, rectal cancer, yeah. She lost her colon. They took her colon out, gave her a stoma bag. So she had a shit bag hanging off her gut. Yeah. And then it spread to her lymphatic system. And then it spread to her lungs. And then she died. And then she left me a load of money. And I haven't been working since she died. So, I quit my job probably a week or two after she died. Yeah. I have more enemies than anyone else in this world. And I'm talking about invisible enemies, ghosts. I have a lot of them, a lot of enemies. And their main way of attacking me is to deny me and reject me and pretend someone else is good. The world is full of people who call themselves stars or superstars, people who are musicians, actors, actresses, celebrities, all these kind of people, and people worship them. Someone looks at someone who's famous, they think that that person's a star, that they see all this light, they see all this light, and the fact is, it's my light. You see, all these famous people, they are good at acquiring my light and trying to use it for their own purposes. They mimic me and they use witchcraft to try to draw on my power. See, everyone in the world needs my power. But I said to people, do it through Jesus Christ. That's how I want you to do it. That's how I wanted people to follow me. You can be, you have to be of Jesus Christ. You have to be like him if you want to get to me. But the thing is, everyone else, those who don't do it those who don't want to be like Jesus Christ, they're all trying to be me, the Father. They're all trying to mimic everything I do. And those people will be absolutely destroyed in one way or another. Whether it's, they're going to be living in a dustbin, or, they're going to be thrown into a volcano or whatever it is, right? Whatever they deserve, right? They'll get what they deserve, but they're going to be destroyed one way or another, right? They'll be cut off from me. So all their, they spent their entire lives trying to pretend that they're me, drawing on my power. I mean, imagine, you live in a house, right? And imagine the electricity was cut off from your home permanently, and you were never allowed to have electricity in your house ever again. Yeah, and you can't use solar, you can't access any electricity ever again. That would make you feel pretty shit, wouldn't it? Well, that's exactly, it's similar. It's an analogy, okay? So a lot of people, that's going to happen to them. I'm going to cut them off from my energy, and they're not going to have anything left. You see, the thing is that I came into this world, my parents, my biological parents, both demons. My mum, Fiona, a fat her, she was a fat woman, right? She wanted to be father. She's trying to pretend to be God. You see, and she's trying to pretend, and that's the thing, right? Her name's Fee, I'm male, right? And so there's this game of, and she was obviously a butch lesbian, right? So, she wants to try and pretend she's male, and she wants to try and pretend that I'm female. And so there's all this weird magic happening, right? And then my dad, well, he ran away. He forsook me, right? He ran away, with his long hair and his long beard. Yeah, his that typical, what people would call the Jesus look, yeah. And and when there's a picture, that's the thing, he was into witchcraft, right? He was always into witchcraft. So, I had bad parents. I mean, that's the thing. My mom wanted me to be gay. She gave me drugs. My very first ecstasy pill that I took, she gave it to me when I was a teenager. She was like, here, have one of these. Yeah. And she had all kinds of problems. Like, the worst one was ketamine. Yeah. And she dragged me into all that shit. And it really messed with me. Really caused me a lot of problems. And who stood up for me? Who in my family stood up for me? Nobody. They stood up for my mum. They treated me like the bad guy when it was my mum who was doing all the bad shit. She was the one who was responsible, yet they took her side every time. So not only did I have that horrible situation with my mum and no dad around, in fact, I went to go see him when I was a teenager, and you know what he said to me? He said, listen to your mum, she loves you, she's your mum. She's only looking out for your best interest. So I fucking hung up on him, and I said, I never called him again. Yeah, that's how it went. And I had a family that didn't love me. They didn't care. They didn't care. They just, all they did was, they would write a Christmas card or a birthday card. Oh, here you go, happy birthday or Merry Christmas, love, family. Yeah. Meaningless shit, garbage, lies. If they really loved me, they would have helped me. They would have stood up for me, but they didn't. They allowed my mom to ruin my life, and they still have nothing to say about it, even after I've been shouting about it for probably more than a decade now. For a decade, I've been telling these people that that bitch tried to ruin my life, and she's dead now. They still don't care. They don't care. They really don't care. They will not take my side on it. They have no interest in it at all. And I absolutely hate them with an absolute passion. And I wish nothing but the worst for them. Okay? Because that's all they ever wished for me. And I'm 37 years old now. And they're still trying to ruin my life. And I see a world that wants to pretend that it's me. Right? They want to pretend that they're me making cereal in the morning, or making a cup of coffee, or going to the shops, or buying some new clothes. Yeah, they want to copy me in every stupid fucking little way like that. But my misery, that's for me. I keep the misery, and they get to pretend they're me while they dance and sing and fuck around and have a good time at my expense. Well, I ain't gonna last. That is not going to last. So, is there anything else I wanted to add to this? And yeah, the thing about Fiona Apple's album Extraordinary Machine was that I don't think it was ever officially released, or at least there was a very long period of time where the record company wouldn't allow for it to be released for whatever reason. I don't know. But it all has to do with magic and witchcraft. It always does. I just haven't figured out exactly why. But that's how it is. I mean, that's the thing. I've only heard of that woman, Fiona Apple. I've only heard of her today. And I found out, well, she's had involvement with that woman called Cara Delevingne. she's a British model. I think she's British. She's from Britain, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. She has a sister in London, I think, Poppy Delevingne. Anyways, her family are from England. But that's the thing. Cara Delevingne, she is friends with Rihanna. Robin Rihanna Fenty. Yeah, that witch, that evil bitch. And when I say she's very evil, well, that's the thing. You don't know what she is doing. You really don't know what she's involved with. What have I told you? She's involved with slavery. Yeah? What if I told you it might involve children? How would you know about that? How would you know about that? How do I know about that? Well, that's what I figured out. I think it's actually advertised by her, but it's done secretly. It's code. In fact, if you go look at her videos on YouTube, so she's got, it's called Anti Diary. So ANTI, there's an anti, kind of like Antichrist. Yeah, what ANTI Diary. Anti Diary. Watch all the videos from that and look at how all the little kids are in it. And you notice that, and if you search anti-diary phone call, there's a phone conversation. So it's a phone number that was called because there's a number that's in Braille, is written in Braille in the anti-diary videos, and what it's talking about. It's yeah. Go have a listen to it. I've explained it before. Okay. So yeah. So Fiona Apple, she is, she's connected with very well. I think Rihanna. She's a serious witch, Freemason, involved in very evil stuff. You see, they all know code speak. You see, they know how to. They do witchcraft. They're practitioners of witchcraft. They know word magic and code words. And so they can openly speak in code words, and the public, don't understand it because the public are unaware of these things. I know it because I've studied it for years, and I'm God. So they try to use all this magic and witchcraft to steal power from me and to control the public, to control the world. They try to keep me confined. They want you to worship them. They are false gods that you worship, while I sit in this room making videos telling you that if you don't acknowledge that I'm God, I'm going to destroy the entire planet. People are going to be disappearing all over the place. It's already happening. It's been happening for years. Yeah. I'm really bored of having to say this all the time. It's annoying that I have to keep repeating myself. But there's going to be a day where I don't have to repeat myself anymore. And I think that day's going to come soon. So, I'll leave it there. I think so. I mean, I can't really think of anything else I want to say for this video. I'll leave it there.